Stefan, how much of Scientology ideology is hidden in movies, besides Battlefield Earth, which is obviously 100% Hubbard? I mean other movies with, let's say, Tom Cruise. Since you're a movie buff and former Scientologist, you might spot ideology or other things hidden in movies taken from Scientology, which the actors or writers packaged or placed in movies. I heard also some of Will Smith movies have some Scientology ideas hidden in them. Yes, this does happen. I have heard from my friend Mark Headley. He talked about, I think he wrote a whole article about how there was Scientology symbology and ideas in Will Smith's movie After Earth. I think that was the name of the movie. I didn't actually see it. And I think that was a M. Night Shyamalan movie. But so he wrote it, not a Scientologist, right? But Will Smith might have come in and made some adjustments to the script, you know, like superstars like he can have the ability to do. But again, I didn't see that movie. What I did see, and what I can talk to about this, was John Travolta in the movie Swordfish. Okay, he practically quoted L. Ron Hubbard in that movie. And that was the most blatant example I've ever seen of Scientology ending up in a movie, of a Hollywood production. There's a scene where John Travolta's character is talking to Hugh Jackman's character, Stan, and he's explaining to him, this is near the end of the movie, in a bus. They're sitting there going off to the big climax of the movie, and John Travolta's character explains to Hugh Jackman, or asks him a question. He says, if you had a cure that would, you know, to a disease that would cure 100 or 1,000 people, but one person would die, what would you implement that cure? And Hugh Jackman's character is like, no, of course not, that's ridiculous. And John Travolta's like, of course you would, it's the greatest good to do that. That's ethics, right? That's how ethics works. And he was explaining this in the context of how his character in the movie could do all these horrible things as a terrorist, which is what he was acting like. But he was doing this in order to justify, he was rationalizing his behavior because the character was somebody who was acting in the best interest of the United States by getting money to fund operations to take out terrorists. And it was a wholly ridiculous premise, but then again, maybe not. I don't know. When you hear about some of the nonsense the CIA has gotten up to over the years. But anyway, that rationale of how Travolta was explaining all that was lifted almost word for word out of the Introduction to Scientology Ethics book. So that was definitely in there. I don't recall anything that I've seen in a Tom Cruise movie that I would say, oh, that's right out of Scientology texts, right? Because remember that Scientology is borrowed from many other things, and a lot of the more basic Scientology concepts are just common sense principles. So you see that kind of stuff in movies all the time, but I couldn't, just because Tom Cruise is in a movie where some common sense principle is brought up, I can't go, oh, Scientology, right? I've never seen a Tom Cruise movie or any Scientologist in a movie where they were discussing body thetans or man's immortal spiritual nature or anything like that, right? Oh, that did make me think of another John Travolta movie, though, called Phenomenon, where he played a regular guy who gets hit, one day realizes or gets hit by lightning or something happens to him and he suddenly has these psychic abilities. And as that movie progresses forward, there are some Scientology-like things sort of thrown in the mix, but kind of the let's all get along and can't we all just live together, and maybe if we did so we'd see that there's a commonality to our life and our nature, right, our spiritual nature. So that was kind of also in there. John Travolta, I think, has done more to disseminate Scientology principles in his movies than Tom Cruise ever has, now that I think about it. But that's just what I can remember off the top of my head. So yeah, you will see some Scientology principles out there, but probably more in JT movies than you will in anything else.